The first time national TV audiences got a look at a 23-inch black and white figure called Rocky Marciano came on Friday night, March 24, 1950, when he met likewise undefeated Roland Lastarza in a 10-rounder. What the audience saw was a crude-looking boxer who swung his arms like baseball bats, boxing with a master boxer, and surprisingly, beating him at his own game. It was a revelation for a nation of fight fans and the beginning of the legend of The Rock. The result finally convinced Charlie Goldman that Marciano was the goods. He said, "I didn't think he could win that one, but when I saw him outboxing Lastarza and winning the fight, I said to myself, this boy's gonna do it." After his 10-round win over Lastarza, Rocky went back to Providence, where he fought 7 of his next 9 fights, and then came back to New York to face the dangerous Rex Lane, the 6th-rated heavyweight contender in the world. Lane was something of an oddity, fighting and knocking out up to 3 men in one evening. But the way Marciano fought on that July evening in New York, Lane must have thought he had all of them in the ring at the same time. By the 6th round, Marciano's slam-bang methods had reduced Lane to a staggering hulk, his arms hanging helpless by his sides, paralyzed by Marciano's punches. Now Rocky knew he was going to do it. It was all systems go for the once awkward boy with the hard-to-pronounce name. Marciano's next New York appearance was against the aging former champion, Joe Louis. It was Rocky's 2nd TV appearance, this one against the man who had once been his hero. But if the thought of facing the TV cameras and Joe Louis fazed the confident Marciano, it didn't show. He went to sleep in his dressing room, waiting for his call to the ring, and had to be roused 10 minutes before the fight. For a few rounds, the remnants of the best left jab in boxing kept Marciano at bay. Rocky said it was like getting hit in the face with a hammer. But finally, utilizing all of his power and all of Charlie Goldman's skills, he worked his way inside the tiring ex-champ and battered him through the ropes, bringing the brilliant career of Joe Louis to an end, and starting another equally brilliant one. All of a sudden, Marciano inherited Louis's mantle, even though he wasn't the champion at the time, and became the hottest property in the heavyweight division, a division he instilled interest in after all those years of being neglected. With Louis gone, Ezra Charles beaten by Jersey Joe Walcott, and Lastarza beaten by Marciano, it was boxing's version of the old Agatha Christie story. Now there was just 2, Marciano and heavyweight champ Walcott. And so they signed to meet September 23, 1952, at Philadelphia's huge municipal stadium. The drama was there, age and boxing skill versus youth and raw power. And so were 40,000 fans who had come to see the Homeric struggle. Walcott, who had faced his first professional fight when young Rocky Marciano was all of 7 years of age, was contemptuous of his opponent, saying, "Can't fight. If I don't whip him, take my name out of the record books forever." But that night, both names deservedly went into the record books, as the two fought what A.J. Liebling called one of the stubbornest matches ever fought by heavyweights. Walcott was famous for his patented walk-away right, which had floored Louis 3 times in 2 fights, and for cute moves worthy of a crafty ringman who had spent some 23 years in the ring, changed his game plan from the start, upsetting the rhythm of the relative novice. At the bell, the crusty old champion moved right to the attack, right into the teeth of Marciano's vaunted right hand, taking the play away from his surprised foe. With little over a minute gone in the opening round, Walcott unleashed a left hook to the jaw, the same left that had separated Charles from his senses and his crown the previous year. Marciano went down for the first time in his 42-fight career. Somewhere between the tolling of 3 and 4, Marciano regained his feet, but was hard-pressed to finish the round in the face of Walcott's assault. The second was more of the same as Walcott, fighting a clever fight, continued to press the challenger, scoring time and again with sneak rights. But in the third, Marciano began to put it all together, and after taking a clean left to the chin, shook it off, and went on the attack. hitting Walcott with brutalizing punches that hurt no matter where they landed. And they landed on the torso, the arms, the jaw, and even on the top of the head. By the sixth, a strong tide was running for Marciano, his punches beginning to wear down his older opponent. Both warriors were awash in blood. Walcott from a cut over his left eye. Marciano from an improbable scalp wound. Marciano continued to press in to get close enough for his short arms to pummel the aging champion, whose perfectly paced fight was upsetting Marciano's staccato. For no discernible reason, Marciano stopped abruptly and groped for the support of a rope. He had not been hit, yet he was unaccountably in trouble. Later, according to ring historian Barney Nagler, he was to accuse Walcott's manager, Felix Bocchicchio, of having rubbed capsicum Vaseline, a heat-producing petroleum jelly laced with pepper, into Walcott's left glove and on his torso. When Walcott jabbed, which was often, Marciano alleged the capsicum Vaseline got into his eyes and caused them to smart. Whatever the reason for Marciano's strange behavior, it was a malady he referred to at the end of the 7th round, telling his corner, "I'm having trouble with my left eye. I can't see." And it enabled Walcott to take full command of the fight, going farther on his age 38 going on 43-year-old legs than even his most fervent followers believed he could. Marciano rallied momentarily in the 9th, but Walcott surprised him and came back to exert command once again in the 10th. Throughout all of Marciano's early round travails, he missed the counseling of Charlie Goldman, who had been relegated to the secondary role of bucket carrier by Al Weil, who was offering Marciano no assistance at all, if that. Still, Marciano kept plugging away, trying to wear down his older adversary, trying to solve his style. Walcott continued to add to his ever-growing lead in the next 2 rounds, befuddling his less ring-wise opponent by first fighting a clever defensive fight, then erupting in furious slugging. Once, in the 11th, Walcott hurt the challenger with a right under the heart and a follow-up series of furious rights and lefts to the head that had Marciano sagging. By the end of the 12th, Walcott had shown up Marciano for what he was, a crude, awkward plotter with no ring finesse. But Marciano had also one other quality, the quality of champions. He was able to take everything dished out and come back for more. In short, he possessed a fighting heart, much bigger than his 5'11", 184-pound frame. Nevertheless, his hopes were vaporizing. Coming out for the 13th, a round that would become pressed between the pages of ring history, Walcott was far ahead on the 3 officials' cards, 8 rounds to 4, 7 rounds to 5, and 7 rounds to 4 with 1 even. All the champion had to do was play 4 corners boxing, stay away from the man they called The Rock, for just 9 more minutes. But it was not to be. For, inexplicably, almost as soon as he came out of his corner, Walcott backed into the ropes for one destructive moment, pecking and pawing at the half-crouched figure in front of him. Walcott parried a left direct to the head and blocked a left aimed at the body. In that one split second, between the harmless left being brushed aside and the next, Walcott swayed slightly, his left arm down. It was at that exact moment that Marciano launched a straight and short right for Walcott's jaw. It landed cleanly, the only punch in 13 rounds to do so, and the champion crumbled to the canvas, unmindful of a grazing left to the side of the head that was vivid but totally unnecessary. Jersey Joe Walcott had missed by 8 minutes and 17 seconds of keeping his crown. Rocky Marciano was now the new heavyweight champion of the world. After his destruction of Walcott, Rocky Marciano now boasted, with good reason, "I don't think anybody in the world can lick me." He went on to prove it against Roland Lastarza, Ezra Charles, 2 times, despite having his nose split open like an overripe tomato, and Don Cockle in a dreary bout, before taking on light heavyweight king Archie Moore.
Massachusetts, to look in on the light heavyweight king Archie Moore as he prepares to challenge Rocky Marciano for the heavyweight title on September 20th at Yankee Stadium. Under the guidance of his trainer, Cheerful Norman, Archie gets set for some sparring with Dynamite Brown, who is a pressing brawler with a style similar to Marciano. Moore, who is at least 38, has been fighting for 20 years and has fought a total of 144 bouts, winning 125 with 90 KOs to his credit. Among Moore's defeats, 3 have been scored by the former heavyweight champion Ezzard Charles, including a knockout in 1948. Archie, wearing all white, shows his defensive ability against Dynamite Brown. Archie won the light heavyweight crown in 1952 when he beat Joy Maxim. In Moore's last defense of his title, he KO'd the middleweight champ Bobo Olson in 3 rounds. Let's join Jim Leeming as he interviews Archie with Cheerful Norman looking on.
We all know and we've all read and heard of the great confidence, and I can vouch for it that we have great confidence in this camp about this coming fight with the heavyweight champion, Rocky Marciano. Arch, I know it goes right from the bottom right on up to you.
Yes, Jim, everybody in this camp is very confident of the winning of the fight, and I am especially, because it is something I wanted for so long. And I have laid certain plans and practiced certain things to lead to winning this fight from Rocky. And I believe sincerely that I can, without trying to sound that I'm bragging, but it's just that I'm confident of my ability.
Do you feel, Archie, that you can knock Marciano out? Of course, he never has been.
Well, that's always the first time. I remember one time I thought that I couldn't be knocked out, but I have been knocked out too. So Marciano is human like anyone else, I suppose, and he can be knocked out.
Everyone knows, of course, that Archie Moore is not only a great boxer, but he's also a great puncher. Now, Marciano has the reputation, and anyone who has seen him would certainly agree that he is a great puncher, and he sort of wades in. Is he a tough kind of a guy to fight, Archie?
I don't know. I never fought him, but I think that he would be sort of a tough opponent to fight because of his style, always moving in. And like you gave me a good little plug, I'm not a great puncher. I'm just a sharp hitter. But I can get the right effects.
What is the difference between a great puncher and, as you say, a sharp hitter?
Well, a sharp puncher can get the same effect as a great hitter.
Now, one other question before we leave Archie Moore. We'd like to ask him the question that everybody wants to know as a final one. Just how do you think you're going to go on the night of the fight?
Well, as I always said, I believe that I'm going to win this fight. Why should I feel any other way?
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Archie Moore.
Now to New York State and Grossinger's, the fabulous Catskill Resort where Rocky is training. Jim Leeming interviews Rocky and his manager Al Weil prior to the training session.
From Grossinger, New York, the training base of the heavyweight champion of the world, Rocky Marciano, this is Jim Leeming. And with me, we have the champ and his manager, Mr. Al Weil. First of all, let's talk to Rocky and let's say hello, first of all.
Hello, Jim.
Now, Rocky, one thing that's always impressed me, and I'm quite sure that's impressed everyone who has ever met you, is the fact that, first of all, he's a gentleman and certainly a man that you would never expect to be as brutal as he is in the ring. Now, I'd like to ask you, what happens when you get into that ring, Rocky?
Well, that bell sounds, Jim. It's a different story in there. It's that man trying to take that title away and myself trying to hold it.
Are your feelings, once you step through those ropes, feeling of hatred, or do you have any malice towards the man that you're in there against?
Well, we try to hurt the man in the early rounds so as to make it easier for ourselves. Yes, I guess you do have a little hatred in there.
Of the fights that you have had since you have been the heavyweight champion of the world, which one stands out in your mind as perhaps the toughest?
I believe the first Charles fight was the toughest. It was a hard fight for me, and I had to come from behind to win.
Now, This fight coming up on September 20th at Yankee Stadium in New York. Archie Moore, we visited with him, and if ever I saw a man and a camp that I felt was genuinely competent, it's the one at North Adams, Massachusetts. I don't think there's any question but that Archie fully and honestly expects to win. I would guess that a challenger has to feel that way, and he has to say that he's going to win. But I did get the feeling, and still have it, that Moore felt and feels that he's going to take the championship. Now, how do you feel about that?
Well, he still has to prove it to me on September 20th at Yankee Stadium. I do understand that he is a confident man, and I guess most of the challengers have been that way also.
How about as far as the type of fighter that he is, the type boxer that he is? Do you have any preference as to style? Do you like to fight a man with his style, or would you prefer another style?
Well, I really don't know. Usually when I fight a man, sometimes the style changes just a little bit. I say that because the way Archie Moore fought Harold Johnson, I believe he will not try to fight me the same style, you might say.
Mm-hmm. Rocky, Archie Moore told us when we visited with him at North Adams, Massachusetts, that he expected to come in for this fight at about 187 pounds. Now, how about as far as you're concerned? What do you expect you'll be on September 20th?
I believe I'll weigh just about the same. My best fighting weight is 186 or 7 pounds, and I'm trying for just that weight.
And now let's turn here for a moment to the manager of the champion, Al Weil, and this would seem to be perhaps the first fight since the Lewis Kahn fight that can reach that $1 million gate. How do you feel about that, Al?
Well, it's really a very big match. The match is timely. The public wants it. They're buying tickets just if the whole world wants to see it.
Archie Moore was the most durable of fighters, having fought for over 20 years, many of those on the Chitlin circuit in bootleg fights. Moore's exact age was a matter of speculation. Moore claiming to be 42, but his mother claiming 45. Archie tried to reconcile the two, would only say diplomatically, "I must have been 3 when I was born." But no matter how old Archie was, he kept winning, and winning like a youngster, piling up knockout after knockout on his way to an all-time record. He was given a puncher's chance against Marciano, and more. On the night of September 27, 1955, at Yankee Stadium, Moore almost pulled it off, fighting out of his famous armadillo stance, gloves and crossed arms catching punches aimed at his head, and wearing his outrageously long trunks. Moore was anything but a joke as he went at the champion, as he went after the invincible Rock, attempting to become the first light heavyweight champ ever to capture the heavyweight crown. In the second, he caught Marciano with a short right to the chin, and Marciano went down. Up at the count of 2, the obviously dazed Marciano walked into the rope while the referee continued the count to 5. Moore, who had been trying to edge his way around referee Harry Kessler, was pushed back and lost his chance to finish off the hurt champion. For the next few rounds, Moore continued his mastery, cutting up Marciano with short, sneaky lefts and equally short rights and befuddling the still awkward champ with feints and footwork. But Marciano continued to get inside, to work the body. Finally, in round 6, he drove Moore to the mat twice, once more in the 8th, and finished him in the 9th. It was to be Marciano's last fight. Shortly thereafter, he was to find out that the co-promoter of the Marciano-Cockle fight had drawn a check for $10,000 in the name of Marciano's manager, Al Weil. The check had been laundered to escape detection. Marciano had not known of its existence, nor had he shared in its proceeds. That revelation, together with the fact that he had thrown out his back in a home accident throwing his baby daughter Marianne in the air, and had been told by doctors that if he continued fighting, regardless of whether they operated or not, he might never walk upright again. He retired, the first heavyweight champion ever to retire undefeated. A prodigious accomplishment in any day and any age, especially if one started with the skills, or lack thereof, that Rocky had.